What up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Just Dropping In. As you can tell by the title, we're finna drop in on new money. Elon Musk has a plan for the U.S. national debt, and I believe my boy's gonna talk to us about it just a little bit, and we'll see where all the facts lie and how we feel about where they're going. If you're new here, be sure to go ahead and drop a like and hit that sub button so you can, be around for the next couple. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Let's get into it.
Bankrupt, just like a person would.
As we all know, recently Donald Trump won the US election, and one person that took center stage in it all was Elon Musk. Musk was actually one of the Trump campaign's largest individual donors, pledging over $100 million to support the campaign. But interestingly, his involvement with Trump isn't stopping at just campaign support, as Elon is now expected to take an active role within the Trump administration. You might have seen this meme floating around in the last few weeks featuring Donald Trump, UFC founder Dana White, and Elon Musk, with the caption reading, "We're looking at the new CEO, CMO, and CTO of America." And in the case of Elon Musk, it appears to be true that he will take on a sizable role in the government as head of government efficiency.
At the suggestion of Elon Musk, I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms. And
I ain't gonna lie, me personally, I think that we're probably been in need for something like this for a while. I know there's a lot of people on the other side of the aisle that didn't want Trump to win, but I think we can all agree that we've been needing some major government reform for a while because of the fact that there's just been so much extra bureaucracy to get the slightest of actions done and accomplished. So if anything at all, I think we can all come together and agree on that little factor, right? I mean, are we going somewhere with it a little bit? Maybe not. Just let me know in the comments.
Elon, because he's not very busy, has agreed to head that task force.
So what is Elon Musk's role going to be? Is it going to be a good thing, or is it just going to be one big conflict of interest? Elon Musk, as was recently confirmed, is set to become the head of what he calls the Department of Government Efficiency, or, you guessed it, DOGE for short.
I think the funniest name is DOGE, the DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency.
And from what he said so far, it seems his primary goal is to simply cut out all the waste and inefficiency that's currently seen in the government. And from my research, this all boils down to two key objectives. One, reducing the government deficit, and two, deregulation. Now, I'll talk about both, but I want to start with the idea of reducing the deficit. So much like a person, the government has income and it has expenses. And if it wants to spend more than it earns, it has to take on debt to afford it. Similar to us, if we want to buy a new car, but we can't afford it, then we have to take out a loan to buy the car. Now, the problem with the US is that every year since 2000, the government has spent more than it earns each year. As you can see, for fiscal year 2024, the government collected $4.92 trillion in revenue and had $6.75 trillion in expenses. In the income column, we have 49% from individual income taxes, 35% from social security taxes, 11% from corporate taxes, and then smaller amounts from customs duties, excise taxes, estate and gift taxes, and other. And then over in the
idea. If you want to know what the deficit is, you can go look that up. Let's actually get to Musk's plan for the deficit.
The whole idea of this government efficiency agency.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is pretty simple. Is that we've got this suffocating, massive federal bureaucracy. Government spending is like bankrupting the country. Our interest payments on the national debt now exceed the Defense Department budget. The Defense Department budget is like $1 trillion a year. 23% of all government income taxes, tariffs, and everything is just going to pay interest right now. And that number is continually rising. So if we don't do something, the entire government budget will be paying interest. There won't be money for anything. There won't be money for Social Security, there won't be money for Medicare, nothing. That's where we're headed. It's like, hello, wake up. Wake up. So we have to cut government spending, or we're just going to go bankrupt, just like a person would if that overspends.
Elon sees the deficit worsening over time. He sees the refinancing of government debt at higher interest rates ballooning the interest expense of the country, and he wants to change that. But the first step in stopping the snowballing pile of debt is to put the US in a position where, after all is said and done in a given year, it doesn't need to take on more debt. And that means America needs to either increase its income or reduce its expenses to eliminate the deficit and return to a budget surplus. And in Elon's planned role as the head of government efficiency, he wants to go through and tackle this issue by eliminating a lot of wasteful spending.
There are expenditures that don't make a lot of sense, that are wasteful, and we need to put a stop to that. Honestly, the
thing is, this is dangerous though, because he has a lot of stake in a lot of the regulation that he'll be having a hand in formulating and enforcing whatnot, who that. So, you know, on the flip side of all this, Elon could have made this plan years ago. You dig what I'm saying? Like, and it could just all be going according to plan. It is a little odd that it's named Doge. Coincidence? I don't know. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. This is not the theory channel. I am gonna we are dropping a conspiracy theory deep dive channel. Hit the like button if you're ready to start watching those videos. We're dropping those soon. But as far as like Elon being in such a perfect position right now, like you know, if anybody should be there, I guess probably one of the smarter people on the planet. He's literally, you know, sending rockets to Mars. So, but at the same time, it's like so much power in one person's hands. That's dangerous, and it also sets a dangerous precedent moving forward. So I think we're playing with fire here, yes, but if we can, you know what I mean, be safe with it and, you know, be transparent, because he's preaching a lot of transparency, if, you know, that can come off as well as he's, you know, putting it in a lot of these clips out there, then we'll be fine. But, you know, this is all something we should be very, very, very cognizant and careful about. But let's get back into it.
There's so much government waste that's going on that I would call it a target-rich environment. Like, it's hard, like in every direction. There's this just mad waste, and I think simply, if people simply know that, well, if they waste a ton of taxpayer money, they're going to get fired, that will immediately improve the situation. Immediately.
And this is exactly what he's got experience in from running SpaceX, Tesla, and more recently, X. At Tesla, he focused heavily on streamlining operations, reducing costs across the supply chain, and enhancing the profitability of the company while improving affordability for their customers. SpaceX is a testament to his commitment to optimization, where each advancement is aimed at either reducing rocket weight or maximizing cost effectiveness. I mean, the whole reason that rocket got caught by the chopsticks in the first place is because they deleted the landing legs to save weight. That's an optimization. And then, of course, we know most dramatically at Twitter, remember that Musk was able to implement substantial cost-cutting measures, notably reducing the workforce by 80%, while maintaining the platform's core functionality. Now, some of those initiatives obviously weren't popular, but they were effective. And that's what he's all about, creating lean and effective operations. And it's that skill set that he now wants to bring to the US government.
The Department of Government Efficiency, you know, what that's going to do is really just take a look at all the federal expenditures and say if something is not, if you're not getting great value for money for your hard-earned tax dollars, cancel it. I would like to say it's a hard job, but actually it's not, because there's so much waste. So I actually think this is a fairly easy job. Although it will get a lot of opposition naturally from the entrenched interests that get the money and do nothing, you know, nothing good with it. They'll be grumpy about it, but the American people will be very happy that their tax dollars are being spent in a much more sensible way.
And it obviously remains to be seen exactly what Elon will take a swing at, but one thing he has discussed quite extensively over the past few weeks and months is government agencies. And this now leads us to the second part of the role that Elon wants to take, which is improving the efficiency of the government by consolidating or removing government agencies. And this has two intended outcomes: to reduce the running costs of the government, and also to start to deregulate or untangle the overlapping web of bureaucracy that naturally, as a function of the system, stifles America's advancement.
We're spending money on all these, like these government agencies, and I actually asked the AI, like, how many government agencies are there? And The government isn't even sure how many government agencies there are. So it's like somewhere around 450, depending on what you call an agency, at the federal level. So that's almost twice as many agencies as years that America has existed. So we're creating agencies at roughly 2 agencies a year.
Wow.
Yes, this is crazy. So we've got the suffocating,
That's crazy.
This vast suffocating federal bureaucracy that just gets bigger every year. And eventually you get to the point where everything's illegal. You can't get anything done.
And this is where Musk's perspective on government reform becomes a bit more complex and to a lot of people much more political. I think most people can appreciate the idea of trying to right the ship when we're talking about the deficit, but when we start to talk about deregulation, this is where people tend to draw their own lines in the sand, some for deregulation and others against. Now, I want to say that I am not at all trying to get political or enforce an opinion onto you guys. As I said on Instagram recently, I'm just a 29-year-old Australian dude, and I don't think most Americans would appreciate me chiming in and telling them how they should or shouldn't run their country. But I do still want to show Elon Musk's point of view because, of course, it gives us context as to the topic of this video, which is what will Elon Musk's role in the government likely entail? And in Elon's view, he has been very critical of over-regulation in the United States, frequently using the football field analogy. This is the idea that the game works best when there's 1 or 2 or maybe 3 referees on the field, depending on which football you're talking about. And that makes for an exciting game where the players can play, but the rules are still enforced. But what you don't want is for there to be 10, 20, 50, 100, 200 referees on the field, because as you put more and more referees on the field, there's less and less space and freedom for the players to play. The game obviously breaks down. And this is the analogy that Elon commonly uses for the state of American overregulation.
For SpaceX, Starship was sitting on the pad, the rocket, this giant rocket. We could build the rocket faster than they could process the paperwork to approve the launch. So we're sitting there for 2 months. If you're dealing with one agency, that's one thing. But if you've got to deal with 5 agencies, and the agencies will have to meet with each other, now you've got like 25 different meeting configurations that have to take place. You get just hardening of the arteries. You just can't make progress. Like, this is why we can't build high-speed rail in America. It's basically illegal.
Musk's call for deregulation, however, obviously isn't without controversy. At the end of the day, regulations are often established for safety, environmental protection, and consumer rights. So the idea of scaling them back raises legitimate concerns. Critics worry that loosening regulations might lead to reduced safety standards or fewer protections for the public. For example, consider the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, which enforces vehicle safety standards like seatbelts, airbags, and crash tests. Now, while this is admittedly a reasonably extreme example, if these regulations were weakened or removed, it raises the question, would automakers continue to prioritize safety, or would they be tempted to cut corners to reduce costs? While there may be potential for streamlining and simplifying the regulatory landscape, it's reasonable to be cautious about the consequences. At the end of the day, deregulation can have both positive and negative effects. Here's Musk's response to these concerns.
We've got far too many government agencies. The federal bureaucracy has gotten out of hand, and we just need to pare it down to a sensible level. And if it turns out that like there's some regulation or agency that was doing something useful, we can put it right back. No problem. Like, it's like, oh, that regulation was important? No problem, we'll put it right back.
On the surface, this approach seems practical, right? Testing out a leaner government and then restoring any crucial regulations if needed. But some might argue that it could be risky, right? If a regulatory body is removed only to realize later that it was actually essential, then there could be a period where people are impacted before it's reinstated. And in some cases, that temporary gap could have serious consequences for public safety, the environment,
test out the unregulated waters.
So it's a fine line to walk in the regulation versus deregulation debate. Another concern raised is the potential for job
pick and choose wisely,
consolidating or cutting back government agencies would inevitably lead to some layoffs.
So like there's a lot of things that are like, duh, we need that, and like, duh, we don't. You know what I mean? And the bulk of the fluff is probably within that discernment factor right there, and then like the nitty gritty will just kind of like round it out and make the whole budget look a whole lot better. You dig what I'm saying?
That's a tough reality. Losing a job is hard for anyone, and it's understandable why people worry about this aspect. Now, Elon has addressed this concern directly, and in his view, he doesn't want to cause anyone undue economic hardship.
the point is not that people suffer economic hardship. The point is just that there are more productive things they can do in the economy, and it would be better if they did these other more productive things, and we didn't have this vast federal bureaucracy. So I was like, maybe like a couple of years of pay would be good, and then they could take a vacation, they could take another job and get double pay. I mean, it's not going to create an economic crisis. I think it's actually going to be really good. I think because people can move to where they're making products and services that are more useful to their fellow human beings.
So that's the argument around
that makes
potential
sense,
job losses, but beyond that, there is one really big issue that definitely does need to be addressed, and it's causing quite a bit of stir right now. And that is, if Elon is in charge of this deregulation in America, well, it's kind of a conflict of interest, right? If Musk takes on this role in the Trump administration, then he would potentially have influence over regulations that directly affect his own companies like SpaceX or Tesla. Elon has previously voiced frustration with regulatory bodies such as the FAA, which he feels has been slow to approve launches for SpaceX, and also with the NHTSA, which enforces safety standards affecting Tesla. Now, while a lot of people trust Musk's intentions, putting him in a position to alter regulations that impact industries where he has significant investments naturally raises concerns. This isn't necessarily a question of Musk's character, it's more about the risks inherent in allowing someone with vested interests to influence government policy in these areas. On the one hand, there is certainly massive scope for cost reduction in the US government that would definitely benefit America's financial position, but at the same time, there are concerns on the other side of the equation too.
I think we need to take a look at all federal expenditures and say, is this really benefiting the American people or is it not? And if it is, well, are we spending it wisely? Well, usually the answer is no. So then we should spend less money and spend it efficiently. But there's got to be a clear benefit to the American people or we shouldn't be spending money. And I think we also want to have extreme transparency. So like no shady backroom deals or whatever. Everything done in open, total exposure. Like you can see the mistakes that are made, the good things that are done. You can comment on it. You can raise concerns. We want a transparent, open government, and because there will be mistakes that are made. With transparency comes trust, and then you can see, okay, we made a mistake, we'll fix that, we'll do that, and that's the best way to restore trust in government. Not that you should trust government, you shouldn't trust government, but it'll be you can trust it.
He's in government telling y'all don't trust government.
Anymore. If there's at least transparency.
So hopefully this video gives you a reasonably balanced look at both the pros and the cons of Elon Musk's potential new role in the US government. Definitely let me know your thoughts as well down in the comment section below. Let's keep the discussion going.
For sure. No, I like I said before, I think it's a slippery slope that we're on. It's like Elon is probably the best to do this job. I just wish he didn't have such a vested financial interest in the details around the job. You dig what I'm saying? So we're just gonna have to watch, see, hope that the Senate stays on their toes and with the binoculars on, watching, make sure everything tip-top ship shape. But I mean, things are looking positive. I don't know. Until I start seeing signs of otherwise, I'm feeling pretty positive moving forward for the American economy. Now, I will say the dollar is still mighty fragile. I'm going to do a video talking about that pretty soon, specifically in one of my market breakdown videos. But the dollar is fairly fragile, but I think with the bullishness we're seeing in the market from, I'm not going to say from Trump winning, but from a decision being made, because markets are a little more, shaky and uncertain when we don't know who's going to be president. But now that we know and we're getting these plans and we can kind of start formulating the possibilities for the future, that simple fact alone is going to have our markets to be more consistently on the rise, especially with such a bullish president like Trump. So I'm optimistic about the markets for now. I know a couple of my videos is all doomsday. Sorry about that. but it's never completely doomsday, because we know how to move forward. That's why y'all tap into these videos, so you can kind of get a gauge, check the temperature, you feel me, see how we doing. I'm gonna tell you right now, grocery prices are gonna start coming down pretty soon. I give it like maybe like 8-ish months, maybe like May, June. I believe our grocery prices should start cooling down. Gas prices should start cooling down a little bit, and they won't probably heat back up again until we get towards the midterms in like 2 years. So that's cool for our pockets. Take a note of that. Check that off, and make sure your advisors know, and this, that, and the third. All right, I'm finna let y'all go get out of here. If you enjoyed this video, got some value from it, make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button, and hit that little bell icon so you get notified as soon as notified as soon as I drop a video. And you can come in and be part of the notification gang and whatnot. Say what's up. You dig what I'm saying? Like if you was first in here, like you seen that it was only at like 2 views, like, let me know in the comments. Like that means you like one of the realest ones. You know what I'm saying? All right. I love y'all. Make sure you're kind to somebody. I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one.